Hello, everyone. Hi, my name's Dr. Richard Wild. I'm a criminologist, an academic criminologist working at the University of Greenwich in London, in the UK. And it's a great pleasure to be with you, sort of, here today. I'm going to talk to you about studying criminology and criminal psychology in London, and also talk generally about what is criminology. So if you've got any questions, please put those in the question chat, and I'll either pick those up as we go along, or I can probably more likely address them at the end. Also, on each of the slides you'll see in red, there's my email address, r.wild@gre.ac.uk. I'm very happy to pick up any questions on that. So if someone wants to send an email, I'll check that that's working, but I've got it alongside me, so I can also send more detailed answers later. Okay, so I'm just going to shut my blind because the sun is pouring in, but there's a picture of Greenwich campus when we were last able to go there. So I'm still in lockdown, unfortunately, like many of you, and it's a long time since I've been in my office or on the university campus. But it's a really beautiful campus. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and that's a slightly dramatic picture of it at night. And you can see in the distance across the River Thames, there's Canary Wharf and the City of London. Also, you may well have seen our campus because there's a lot of films have been it's been used wherever there's a scene of 10 Downing Street or the Houses of Parliament or some kind of historic part of London. Quite often they'll use our university campus as an example of that. So it's in Tomb Raider, it's in Sherlock Holmes, it's in lots of these things which you may or may not have seen, like The Crown, many episodes of The Crown. I remember when they were filming Thor, I looked out of my office window and saw all of these kind of baddies all dressed up in black armor, and thought, what's going on? And another time for Les Miserables, the very end of Les Miserables, where they had a great big kind of reproduction of the Commune of Paris right outside my office. So, okay, but I'm not here to talk about the Greenwich campus. And if you want to see more about that, go online. There's lots of YouTube videos, and you can just Google and have a virtual tour of the campus and that bit of London. What I will talk about briefly are the different programs that we teach in criminology. So I don't know how many of you are interested in undergraduate or postgraduate, but we teach 4 undergraduate degrees, a BA Criminology and Criminal Justice, and also an extended version. That's a 4-year program and a 3-year program. And we also do a BSc, Bachelor of Science, Criminology and Criminal Psychology, and also an extended version of that. So the BA is 3 years, the BSc is 3 years. There's a BA extended, which is 4 years, and a BSc extended, which is also 4 years. And we've got 3 postgraduate programs in criminology: the MA International Criminology, the MSc Criminology and Criminal Psychology, and then relatively new, it's 2 years old, MSc Criminology, Gender and Sexualities. If you want more information on any of these, just Google or any search engine, type in the name of the program, University of Greenwich, and it will come up as the first hit. Otherwise, go to www.gre.ac.uk, the link at the bottom of the page, and it will take you to the university website where you can see details of open days, lots more details about the university, studying at the university, applying, and also the different program web pages. And what's good is you can you can actually drill down on the web page and you can click the different modules, have a look at what the assessment is, who teaches it, what kind of topics are covered. So, I mean, I'm going to go through them all in a little bit anyway, but you can get all of the detail online whenever you like. Before I do that, I just thought I'd say a little bit about myself. So I've been teaching criminology now since 1991, so it's a long time. I lose track of how long that's been, 30 years, I think. And 3 different universities. I started at the University of Sheffield. I then, well, I lived in Italy for 2 years making pizzas and doing things. Then I came back and worked at the University of Kiel in the middle of England. And then for the last 17 years, I've worked back in London, where I'm originally from, at the University of Greenwich. I do research in lots of areas around policing and also terrorism. So these are some of the examples of things I've worked on. But I also work around human rights. So I volunteer for an international group called the Fédération Internationale de l'Aigle des Droits de l'Homme. If you didn't understand that, that's because I was speaking French. It's the International Federation for Human Rights. And go on their website if you want more details, and you can also read some of our reports. I worked for 10 years for them against the death penalty, and then more recently I've worked around anti-terrorism in Russia and other places. Okay, so now I wanted to turn to talk a bit about criminology as a discipline, as a subject. What is it? What would you be studying? Well, criminology comes from, is made up of crime and ology. So crime is obviously crimes, criminals, offenders, victims, and the criminal justice system. And then ology is the study of or science of. So effectively, it's the scientific study of crime, criminals, victims, criminal justice, etc. That sounds quite straightforward, except that it's disputed what exactly crime is. Crime is an ambiguous social concept, and indeed it's socially constructed. It's made up of, on the one hand, normative deviance, breaking the criminal law or breaking the law, but also, normative deviance, so that's where you're breaking norms, social norms, but also law breaking, where you're breaking legal norms. Yeah. So actually the area in the middle is the area that most people accept is clearly criminology. But I'm a critical criminologist, so I think that actually it includes normative deviance that isn't necessarily breaking the criminal law. So around kind of sexual behavior, around drugs and alcohol consumption, but also the behavior of politicians, the behavior of lawyers, all comes under normative deviance. But similarly, laws change. So to give some examples, we've got new offences in the UK against forms of revenge porn or internet identity theft or interpersonal crimes of stalking or coercive behaviour or hate crimes. And these didn't used to be criminal offences, but now they are. Similarly, homosexuality used to be a criminal offence, but now it's no longer a criminal offence. Also, crime changes according to where you are. So I'm sure there are some behaviours which are criminal offences in Romania, which are not criminal offences in the UK, and vice versa. And that shouldn't stop us as criminologists looking at those kinds of behaviours. So actually, criminology is multidisciplinary. It's made up of a lot of other academic disciplines, and in fact, it's what a lot of people have called a rendezvous subject. It's where a lot of different kind of people and subjects and interests come together. So I wanted to just tell you what some of those main disciplines are. So forensics, I think forensics is what a lot of people think criminology is, when in fact forensics just means legally applied. So you can get forensic criminology, forensic computing, forensic anthropology, forensic archaeology, or forensic sciences. And all of these are legally applied criminology, legally applied accountancy, legally applied archaeology. So digging up human remains as evidence in a criminal case or a police investigation, or analysing computer or internet digital evidence to identify money laundering would also be considered part of forensic computing, for example. Psychology, I think again, a lot of people think that criminology is criminal psychology. Yes, criminal psychology is part of criminology, but it's a lot more than that. Effectively, psychology is the individual criminal. It's about the individual criminal offending behavior, about their brain, about their behavior, but also it's about why the majority of us don't commit crime. Yeah. Sociology, if you step back, sociology is about kind of group and also society, about how we manage crime, how we react to crime, the media, how we talk about crime. Social policy is what we do about reducing crime, preventing crime, or the consequences of criminality. So it's around youth work, it's around things like drug action. And then, of course, there's the law, which ultimately sets the parameter for what is and isn't a crime according to the criminal law. But there's also international law, there's human rights law, there's administrative law, there's a whole set of other laws. So if I say a little bit now about criminology at Greenwich, we've got a lot of students, more than 350 students currently, and over 15 academic staff, criminologists, and we're also in a criminology and law department where we have a total of, I think, 40 academic staff. We're a mix of practitioners and ex-practitioners, so it's barristers, solicitors, psychologists, probation officers, ex-police officers, and I'm also, as I said, a kind of human rights activist on the side as well. So we really encourage we really encourage our students to also do the same. So we really encourage our undergraduates and postgraduates to do volunteering, to do placements, to do job shadowing, to get some practical experience alongside their studies. We're also research active, so we're all busy researching in different areas, and this again informs our teaching, but also keeps us very current in our areas of specialization. Lastly, we're all qualified in teaching, which might sound a bit strange, but actually there's no requirement to have any teaching qualifications in order to teach at British universities. But we're all qualified with PGCEs in teaching in higher education. What's it like studying with us at Greenwich? Well, in terms of contact hours, this varies. You can have between 8 and 12 contact hours a week. So that doesn't sound like a lot, and it's normally spread over about 3 days, maybe 4 days, but you're guaranteed to have at least 1 day a week where you don't have any contact hours in terms of classes, or when you have to be on campus, if we're back on campus. There's a lot of other work, though, independent study that you have to do. And I normally think that for each module, each course, you have 2 contact hours, typically a lecture and a seminar or a workshop. And then you'd be expected to do at least twice that amount in terms of independent study. So in other words, for every module or course, you would have 2 hours contact and at least 4 hours where you study by yourself with friends in the library, do your research and preparation. That includes writing essays or assessments, etc. It's not just lectures and seminars or workshops. We also have a very active virtual learning environment on Moodle, which we've been using obviously a lot under the pandemic. We have blended learning and flipped classrooms, and where possible, we like to take students out into the field to visit and to apply their knowledge in the real world. We have a variety of assessments and feedback, so multiple choice exams, standard long written exams, also Mentimeter and online activities, and presentations, all sorts of things. So very varied assessments. If I now run through each of the programs, so these are each of the degrees that we offer, I'll just say a little bit, but as I said, a lot of the detail is online, so you can go and have a look at that in your own time. I've been teaching for a couple of hours today already, and I seem to have a bit of a husky throat, so apologies. So I'll start with our BA Criminology and Criminal Psychology. So this is a 3-year degree program. There is a BA Criminology and Criminal Justice Extended, where you do a first year, where you do Introduction to Criminology and a number of academic skills courses for people who don't meet the entry requirements for the 3-year degree. But I'm just going to focus on the 3-year degree, and then I'll talk about how the BSc Criminology and Criminal Psychology is different. So the first year is introductory. It brings everyone up to the same level. We don't expect anyone to have done criminology before they come to Greenwich. We'll teach you everything you need to know. You do a foundations of criminology, which is what you need to know for criminology, forensic criminology, which is legally applied criminology, understanding deviance, which is the sociology of crime and deviance. So that's an introduction to sociology. And then 2 15-credit courses. One, an introduction, bring people in who work in each of those areas. So we bring police officers in, probation officers, prison governors, victim support officers, drug action workers, and they talk to you about the work they do and also apply it to the kind of knowledge that you were taught in the first term. So by the end of the first year, everyone, whatever their background, has all of the basic knowledge they need to do well in the rest of their degree. In the second year, there are only 2 compulsory units: criminological perspectives, which is crime theory, and criminological research methods, which teaches and trains you how to do your own research for the final year. It's also helpful for getting a job, because you can say you're a trained researcher in both quantitative and qualitative methods, a little bit of statistical analysis, and that's a really helpful skill to have. You then get to pick 4 options from these and other options: crime stories, the inequality of justice, Inside Out, perspectives on criminology and criminal justice, is really a really interesting module. It's taught in a women's prison, Her Majesty's Prison Downview. So it's limited to 30 students, and you're taken by bus in the morning to the prison, and you're taught alongside 30 prisoners from the prison. So you share experiences, you work on projects together, and then at the end of the day, you're driven back to Greenwich. Obviously, this year with the pandemic, it's been very difficult to run that course, but we're hoping that next year it will be back to normal. Criminologies of Disobedience is about protests and various forms of deviance. Forensic Mental Health looks at the crossover between mental health and crime, criminality, victimization, and offending. Penology is the study of prisons and punishment. And then Crime in the Media is a very popular course that looks at representations of crime, representations of offenders, looks at the role of the media, and also film, TV, drama, and literature. In the third year, you just have 1 core course, which is Crime in the City, Crime in the State. That's local crime and international crime. So it covers both street crime, crime in London, but also international forms of criminality, terrorism, drug, organized crime, etc., genocide. And then you pick 3 or 4 options from psychology of terrorism, which is what it sounds, perspective of violence, which looks at all forms of violence, homicide, murder, serial killing, so-called honor killing, genocide, etc. Women power, crime and justice, which is feminist criminology. Criminology, the community and work-based practice is our placement module. So again, that's limited to 30 students. You are interviewed, and if you get a place, then we put you with an organization or an NGO or a charitable group that works in the area of criminal justice or victims, and you work with that organization for a whole year. The dissertation research project, I think, is really important because that's the chance for you to pick the topic. So maybe you've got a really exciting, interesting idea that you want to explore. Maybe it's about Romanian political corruption, possibly. I'm being provocative. And then you get a chance to head with one of us, and we help you design a research project. Maybe you carry out primary research, interview people, run a survey, maybe an online survey, or do observation, or it's secondary data analysis or literature based, and you write a 10,000 word dissertation as a result of that. There are several other options. Crimes of the Powerful looks at state crime and corporate crime. Parameters of Hate is around hate crime of various sorts. And then I teach a course on policing, which looks at everything to do with the police and policing, internationally and globally. Okay, the BSc Criminology and Criminal Psychology is exactly the same as the BA, except that you have a component of criminal, investigative, or forensic psychology at each level. So in year 1, you have Introduction to Psychology for Criminology. In year 2, you do a general criminological and forensic psychology course. And then in year 3, you have 2, social forensic psychology, which is about group offending, and investigative forensic psychology, which is the kind of psychology that the police use in investigations, interrogations, witness statements, identity parades, criminal profiling, etc. I'm not going to say anything about the postgraduate. If anyone's interested in postgraduate, by all means, post a question or send me an email, and I'll be happy to tell you more about them. In fact, I run the MA International Criminology, which is this one, and I teach the Crime, Terrorism, the State option, and I also run. I'm in charge of the MSc Criminology and Criminal Psychology as well. Colleague of mine, in fact, a couple of colleagues set up this master's, the MSc Criminology, Gender and Sexualities recently, and it's becoming increasingly popular. And it really looks at kind of feminist criminological approaches covering sexuality, culture, and criminality. So, why study at Greenwich? Well, I think the first thing is that we really know our students. We really go the extra mile in terms of supporting our students. Excellent academic support from the criminology team, but also from the university in terms of counselling, in terms of financial support, in terms of study skills, in terms of library, and lots of other things. We provide some bursaries and scholarships, which I'll talk about in a minute. And there's lots of other university student services. We've got a very active students' union, for example, GSU, the Greenwich Students' Union, that runs student societies, sports societies. We've got a very active criminology society, Amicus, which looks at death penalty, Amnesty International Student Society, and a law society as well. And I guess I should say that we have very satisfied students. So I think something like 97% of our students are happy with their experience, and we were 13th most popular in the Guardian League table for criminology. So that's supposed to show you all the kind of support, advice, and guidance that's available. But studying isn't the only thing. I think it's really important that you that you embrace the whole kind of student experience. It's 3 years where you could do all kinds of amazing things. I think London is absolutely key to this. Yeah, so London is a international city with a thriving cultural life and lots of opportunities. I'm biased because I'm from London originally. I was born in London. It's even after Brexit, I think that there's still going to be all kinds of exciting things going on in London. The university is only 20 minutes away from the West End, all the theatres and the cinemas and the restaurants and the clubs and the bars, and 10 minutes across the river to Canary Wharf and the City of London. You can get there by boat, you can get there going under a tunnel, walking under the Thames, or you can get there by bus or train as well. And we also have a DLR, Docklands Light Railway, which is a kind of, it's not a monorail, but it's a kind of train that goes high above ground, which I think is quite fun because you get a good view of London. There's also a rich social and cultural life within the university. So that bad picture on bright kind of green and orange picture, that's of a student from a masked ball from a few years ago wearing fancy dress. There's another picture of the campus. My office is in that building to the right. And then in the background on a sunny day, you can see Canary Wharf, and in the foreground, we've got the Royal Park of Greenwich. Okay, I'm not going to, this slide is slightly out of date and I've not had a chance to update it, but I mean, I believe that we're asking for a 7 in your baccalaureate to join either of the programs, and also 6 or 6.5 in the IELTS or some other English language equivalent, so Cambridge Proficiency Certificate or TESOL or any of the others. If you want to know the specific assessment, the specific entry requirements, please go on the website or contact the international office, which will give you the details. I'm afraid we no longer offer a high achievement scholarship especially for Romanian students, but what we do is we offer support for EU students. So again, if you're asking the question, or if you go on the website, I'll give you more information on that. Right, I said there's a lot of films that have been filmed at Greenwich. There's also a lot of films and box sets and Netflix things that relate to criminology. And I think this is just an example of some that have really led to a rise in interest in crime and criminology. So my favorite is The Wire, which if you haven't seen, I think is probably the best representation of policing. And then Sherlock is very popular, and Criminal Minds and various others. So what they all show you, I think, is that criminology and criminal psychology provide a multidisciplinary, critical international perspective on the study of crime, criminals, victims, covering offenders, offender profiling, stalking, psychopathology, youth crime, gangs, street violence, media and films. So that's why I highlighted that, because I've just shown you some films, how they change people's views on crime and inform policy around criminal justice, prisons, human rights, gender, race, discrimination, policing, drugs, organized crime, security, terrorism, and cybercrime. Wow, I mean, if that isn't exciting and interesting, I don't know what is. But I probably also thought to end by saying something about what you can do with a criminology degree. So I wanted to talk about careers in criminology. Yes, you could join the criminal justice sector, so you could become a police officer, prison officer, probation officer, or you could work in courts as a legal executive or a court clerk or something. But you don't have to join the criminal justice system. You can also work for the criminal justice sector as a civilian. So you can work as a civilian with the police, as a crime intelligence analyst, or as a community support officer, community safety officer, crime prevention officer. There's a whole load of different things you can do with the police without just joining the police. You could also join the security service or work with the security service in the UK or abroad in another country. Similarly with prisons, prison education, in rehabilitation or in probation or in social work, adult social care or youth work, and similarly in courts as well. You could retrain to become a lawyer, a criminal lawyer, or a psychologist if you did a psychology conversion. There's further postgraduate specialization in criminology. We offer some masters, and lots of other places do as well. You could also convert to law, forensics, or psychology. Research, you'll be a qualified researcher, so you could go on to work in research, either work for government and international government like the UN or the EU, national government, so the UK, the Ministry of Justice, the Home Office, or local government, or indeed in your own country or in some other country, in development or in a variety of different ways as well, around policy or prevention. And then there's the third, so-called third sector, charities, NGOs. You could work as an advisor, as a consultant. There's a whole variety of opportunities. Some of the kind of jobs you could do: crime intelligence analysts. We've got graduates that have gone on to work with the police as crime intelligence analysts. They work in the back room doing research and running analyses, statistical analyses, geographical profiling, GIS mapping, in order to support the investigation of crime or support a criminal operation. Crime prevention officers, they work with the community giving local advice or individual advice on home security. Community safety officers work with local communities or with boroughs or councils in terms of parks or environment and improving kind of safety policies. Youth work, supporting youth workers, young people rather. Drug action team, dealing with people who have problem drug use and a crossover to crime and criminality. That's our contact details and our general email, law@gre.ac.uk. But by all means, email me. I'm happy to answer. And probably the easiest thing is if you go on our webpage and look at more details there. I just thought I'd end by showing you a picture of the painted hall, which I haven't been in for years, is on campus. Again, it's a big tourist draw, and it looks like something from Harry Potter, but it's actually just the canteen when it used to be a Royal Naval College. And then lastly, I wanted to say that if you did come to us, we've got a growing community of Romanian students at Greenwich, and they've got their own Facebook page, which is Romanian Student UOG, and or if you just search for Greenwich, Romania, you'll get there as well. And they're very friendly. They'll be happy to answer questions in Romanian about what it's like studying at Greenwich, what it's like living in London, and all kinds of things you might want to know about food, about money, or about getting work. So I'd strongly encourage you to reach out to them as well. Okay, I'll now turn to the questions. If you've got any questions, please post those up. I'm going to stop sharing slides and turn to the questions now. Sorry, I'm just having to pick up the questions. Right. Okay. Oh gosh, quite a few questions, and not long to answer them. But I'm gonna give it a go. So I'll go through these as quickly as I can. So, can you become a detective after this? Yes and no. I mean, you can join the police, and then well, there's two ways to become a detective. You become a police officer, and then you work your way up to become a detective, or you apply through the graduate scheme, which is the fast track to become a detective. You can do both of those after a criminology degree, and in fact, in order to become a police officer, you don't need a degree. So you don't need to do a criminology degree to become a police officer. But I think it's always an advantage. And I think either the BA or the BSc would be an excellent preparation for joining the police and indeed for becoming a detective. You can speak about the cost of these years of study. Yes, absolutely. So all UK universities charge around £9,000. I think it's £9,250 fees. And what applicants normally do is they apply for a loan to cover those fees, and then they pay that loan back in instalments after they get a job where they earn more than £24,000 a year, and they gradually pay it back over time. That's not all, because obviously you need to support yourself while studying, so you need to have rent and money for food, and also a bit of money to buy books and pay for your materials in order to do your studies. So, but actually, what we suggest is that if you take a part-time job working in a bar or in a restaurant or retail or something, normally if you work 2 days a week or some evenings and a day at the weekend, that would be enough to pay for that. How do I know that criminology is right for me? You don't. I mean, I would say do some research. I would say come to these sorts of events and ask questions, see if it's something that interests you. Also, try and talk to some students or people that have studied or are studying criminology. So go on our Romanian students Facebook page, maybe ask, is anyone here studying criminology? What's it like? Can you tell me, is it interesting? So I think ask lots of questions is the answer to that. Do you have a scholarship program for migrant students, like a work study in the same time? Let me hang on a second. Right, let me tell you about that. So basically, we no longer offer the high achievement scholarship specifically for Romanian students, but there is an automatic EU bursary that we have just made live. It's only available to EU domiciled students of EU nationality, so that's Romanian students. And if you go onto our website and type bursaries, EU bursaries, you'll get there. Yeah, so I'll see if I can let's see if I can post the, yeah. I've posted it in the Zoom chat, but I don't know if you can all see that. I'm sure that if not, Ryuf will be able to move that over. Let me, yeah. Okay, so they'll be able to share that URL. What are the tuition fees for the unit for the year? £9,250 a year. That's the same across pretty much all UK universities. But as I said, you can take out a loan which pays for that, and then you only have to pay it back afterwards. What would this university be good for me if I want to do criminal law? If you want to do criminal law, I'd suggest that if you know that you want to become a lawyer, so a solicitor or a barrister, then if you want to practice in the UK under a common law system, then I would suggest that you do a British law degree, because that's the first stage in legal qualification. But beware that that is a British legal qualification, so it wouldn't necessarily allow you to qualify or practice back in Romania, or indeed in many other places. And we offer one of those degrees. It's called an LLB program. So if you go on our website and type in LLB, you'll see more details on that. You can alternatively do a criminology degree and then do a 1-year law conversion, which would give you an excellent basis to specialize in criminal law, because you would have had criminology and then do a law conversion. But it is 4 years rather than 3 years. Is criminology a profession of the future? Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of people keep saying, as I said, I've been in criminology for more than 30 years. And for all that time, people have said, oh, well, you know, criminology, it's popular now, but it won't last. And it's just grown and grown and grown. And again, this year, even under lockdown, people were saying, oh, no, criminology numbers will go down. But actually, we've recruited more students than ever. So that says it's popular, but it doesn't answer your question of whether it's a good for a future career. But I think it definitely is, and I'll give you 2 reasons why. One is that it's an exciting and interesting applied social science degree, and so I think people do well on criminology degrees because they really enjoy it, and it also sounds really exciting and interesting to potential employers. But also, it gives you very particular skills. So it gives you skills in research and in statistical analysis, and it also allows you to, it opens up a whole set of different career paths. Many of them I talked about just now, but also lots of other things as well. And unfortunately, I don't think crime is going to disappear. So I think there's going to be plenty of demand for criminologists going forward. And in fact, the largest employer of criminologists in the UK is the Home Office. So is just one government ministry, and they hire about 300 criminologists. So there's a lot of demand. Can I study criminology at Greenwich from a distance? Formally, no, we don't offer a distance program. Obviously, this year, all students have been studying largely online, and so it has been possible. It might be possible going forward. It depends partly on the pandemic, but also partly on demand. So if you're really keen to study from a distance, please, let us know. Let us know, and we may be able to offer a distance version of our current degree. Sorry, you really didn't need to hear me sneeze. But one last thing on that is that remember that actually we have 2 teaching terms of 12 weeks, one in the autumn and then one in the spring. So actually, you only really need to be in Greenwich. Even if we are teaching back on campus, you only need to be with us for 12 weeks from September to Christmas, and then another 12 weeks from January through to Easter. So I've just had my last class with my policing students, and I now won't see them again. They have their exam in the 3rd term and they finish and graduate. How fulfilling is a career in criminology long term? I mean, I think really fulfilling. I mean, as I said, I've stuck with it for 30 years. I still find it really interesting. I love teaching, and I'll stay with this until I retire. And I think a lot of people find it really interesting. There's so many different things you can do in criminology. You can work in prisons. You can work with human rights. You can work on the streets. You can work in an office. You can work with research. You can work with a team. So there's lots of variety. Would this university be good for me if I want to do criminal law? I think I've answered that question already. What level of English do you need to study? It varies depending on which qualification you have, IELTS, TESOL, or TEFL. But check our website for the exact qualification you need. I think it's about 6 for IELTS, but then you also need to have scored in each of the elements. Are criminologists directly involved with crimes? Generally, no. I mean, I don't, if you mean directly involved, I hope you don't mean committing crimes. But if you mean in terms of investigating crimes, some criminologists are, but very few. Most of us work either in terms of policy or in terms of research or in terms of rather than working day to day on individual investigations. Although there are a few criminologists who do that. If you are interested in doing that, then there are possibilities to do that around profiling, for example, or I do work with the police, so I have worked with the police more generally around stop and search, and others work in other areas around drugs, for example. Hello, I've also studied and worked in psychology. I would love to know more about your criminology psychology program. Okay, I mean, I think, I've talked about the program, so if you want more, go on the website, and if you've still got questions, then post those up either to laura@gre.ac.uk, to me at r.wild@gre.ac.uk, or to the general email on our webpage. I'd like to do criminal law. I think I've answered that one. What's the annual cost? I've answered that. How is studying in UK during a pandemic? I mean, I think it's frustrating. I've been stuck at home a lot of the time. I'm lucky that I've got a garden, or I've got 2 dogs and a partner, so I get lots of exercise and excuse to go out. But it's been very tough on our students, and it's a very weird experience generally for everyone. I think that hopefully we'll be getting out of the pandemic soon, because vaccinations are high in the UK, and we're hopeful that by September. Oh, am I okay for a couple more minutes? I think something.
Sure, it's okay. It's okay. You can have okay. 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. I'm not sure what happened then. My screen changed.
No worries.
Don't worry, I'll push on. So yeah, it's been weird in the pandemic, but we're hoping that come September we'll be able to do some or a lot of our teaching in person in the classroom back on campus. I'd love to hear more about your experience during the pandemic, but I guess now isn't the time to ask. I'm currently a med student, but thinking of a possible career in criminology. If I decided to attend the University of Greenwich after this, would I be at an advantage or disadvantage? You'd be at a huge advantage. I would suggest just doing a 1-year master's degree would be the best way in. If I qualify as a forensic in UK, can I work as forensic in the Netherlands, for example? I think forensic sciences is a separate degree. So we offer a BSc forensic sciences with criminology. That's really popular. You need to have a science background if you do that, but also be careful because it's not for everyone. Forensic science degree means working with body samples, working in laboratory, working on ballistics. If that's what interests you, absolutely. And would it be transferable to another country like the Netherlands? Yes, I'm pretty sure it would be. Is it hard enough to make a career in forensic psychology if you don't have a well-built foundation? Yes, it is. I think you really do need to have the basics. So I think an undergraduate degree is a good place to start, and then a postgraduate degree, and then also some training experience. What are the biggest difficulties that can be encountered in the Faculty of Criminology? I don't know what the biggest difficulties are. I think if you throw yourself into your studies, if you do the readings, if you join all the classes and do the activities, you'll be absolutely fine. So can I do something related to this field, like study chemistry? Yes, but I would encourage you to study chemistry if that's what you want to do. I think I'm just going to carry on until I'm stopped. I think that's time. But there's more questions coming in, so maybe I'll answer these questions
at the booth.
At the booth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you'll explain how I do that in a minute.
Yes, thank you so much, Richard.
Not at all. Thanks, everyone. Lovely to see you all.
Take care.